So, hello, Jonathan, up there in sunny York. How are you today?
Looking at the lack of sun in York and wondering if it's time to get one of those SAD devices to keep me going during the long, hard winter months ahead.
Ah, yes, indeed. Well, being a Sag, of course, you like to be upbeat and happy at all times. So, yeah.
Doesn't everybody? You mean that's astrological sign dependent? Oh, do you think, Yasmin, really? Anybody on this planet? Is there anyone who doesn't want to be happy and upbeat at all times?
Well, I actually have an answer to that, which
Yes.
is, funnily enough, I've been spending a fair bit of time in England lately, as you know, as opposed to being so much time lately in Australia. And the other day I was talking to a friend who's been doing the same thing, and I said to him, you know, how are you liking it and are you enjoying it over here in England? He said, oh, it's such a relief to be back in London and England after Australia with all that relentless sunshine. And I went, yeah, there is kind of relentless sunshine down there, isn't it? He said, yeah, you know, I like a bit of melancholy in my life. It's so hard to be melancholy when it's all that sunshine. And I thought, yeah, I like a bit of melancholy too. So there you go. Some people love a bit of melancholy.
Okay, well, I guess I must love a little bit of melancholy too somewhere.
Oh, there you go, you see.
Like everything else in life, it's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it? And it seems to me like melancholy is in no great danger of running out in this planet. There may be many things that we're experiencing an intergalactic shortage of, but melancholy, I think the factories that produce it are on triple overtime. So I like the sunshine when I can get it. And of course, sunshine is a state of mind and not necessarily a climatic development.
Exactly. Now, on the subject of being happy and all that, tonight, the reason why I want to speak to you today, apart from just to say hello, of course, is because tonight there is this Jupiter-Uranus trine. Now, Jupiter is the happy planet, and Uranus is a planet that's kind of exciting, and I just thought, as a Sag, it might be really fun to talk to you about it, ask you, you know, how big a deal do you think it is, being a Sag, but also just being, you know, a beloved astrologer to all the people out there. What do you think about the Jupiter-Uranus trine tonight?
Well,
is it reason to be cheerful?
Is it what?
Is it a reason to be cheerful?
Oh, I'm sure it's a reason to be cheerful, and I'm sure we should seize upon as many reasons to be cheerful as we can. But it's a relatively common astrological phenomenon. You get one of these every few years, and they create a climate at the time which, for the people on the Jupiter end of the trine, tend to involve a movement into the new, and a movement away from what's become traditional or habitual or set in stone. And it's possibly more for the people on the Uranian end of the trine that there's the opportunity to find things to celebrate and to feel good about.
Right, okay. So Jupiter is, of course, in Leo and Uranus is in Aries. So are they going to say they're the two that are going to feel it the most? If that happens to be your star sign?
I think when there's an astrological alignment of this nature, we all feel it, regardless of what star sign we are. We all are sensitive to it, and whilst it's possibly true that the Leos and the Aries will also notice it, as to an astrologer would expect, of course, a Sagittarian and a Piscean being ruled by Jupiter and an Aquarian ruled by Uranus, or also be more responsive to an astrological alignment like this. Yeah. It's something that's in the air and that we all feel, and we possibly make a mistake if we try and narrow it too closely down to any individual zodiac sign, because it's a mood that's prevalent. And the mood is, why are you doing things the same old way you've always done them? Isn't it time to do them differently? And that might mean anything from instigate a whole new set of exciting exploratory processes in your life to why are you hanging on to the same old emotional reactions? Why don't you try looking at an old source of aggravation or despair in a brand new light?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and what about, without wanting to get too technical here, and just block your ears if it gets too technical, because we'll get back to normal in a minute, but with the ongoing Uranus-Pluto square that's been clanging away for a couple of years and is going to clang into next year, do you think that this Jupiter intervention might also be helping make the processes that people are going through? So lots of people, in fact, I'm actually surrounded by people who seem to be having, I don't know if we're all having midlife crises, but everyone's talking about changing their life, changing their job, moving countries, all sorts of big changes going on. Do you think this is sort of the Jupiter end of, or a Jupiter intervention on that process, and maybe it's going to help people along a bit in doing whatever it is that they're going to manage to do as a result of the Uranus-Pluto square pressure?
That, I think, is what you call a leading question, and it would be really naughty of me to turn around and say, no, I don't think that at all. On the other hand, I don't mind being led in that question because, yeah, that's a fair comment. You took the words out of my mouth too. This is a moment of light relief in a process which has been anything but light and which many people would really appreciate some relief from. These ongoing alignments between Uranus and Pluto, which began in 2012, although the build-up to them started a good couple of years before that, and which technically continue until, I think it's May 2015 that we finally see the last one.
Definitely 2015.
And they are creating a kind of international existential crisis. Collectively and individually, the planet is full of people who are looking around and going, whoa, nothing fits anymore, nothing works anymore, and nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah. We are systematically seeing the erosion of every institution we felt we ever could trust, from the obvious targets that some people lost faith in long ago, like the churches and the banks, to the ones which people still had some belief in, like governments, or like broadcasting institutions. The idea of honour amongst the people who stood up and reported the news to us. We are beginning to see that at every level of life, our world has been riddled by folk who have had very little by way of a moral compass or even a cosmic compass. And that has caused us, I think, individually to start thinking, on what basis have I been planning my life? On what basis have my expectations of life been built? What is it I want? Why do I want it? And where do I want to go with my life? Yeah. And I think for a lot of us, that's been a bit of a depressing and an uncomfortable process, and it continues to be so. But number one, you're right, the Jupiter-Uranus alignment at the moment is definitely injecting a little bit of pressure relief into that situation, and temporarily at least making us feel a bit better about situations which have been driving us crazy for ages. Yeah. And I suppose the other factor is everything we're encountering, every piece of news we're hearing about the society we're living in, and even the stuff that happens in our own lives that makes us gnash our teeth and wail in despair, is all stuff that looks bad and smells bad, but isn't actually as bad as it appears. It's as if some great cosmic force is taking us right to the edge of our trust and our belief, causing us to doubt where the heck we're going, and then effectively holding back from just when it could push us over the brink. It says, well, you know what, the brink isn't really here. It's okay. It's almost as if it's sufficient for us to face our fears and confront them, not to actually suddenly get spun right off into, well, that's it then, there's no point in anything anymore. Of course there's a point in plenty of stuff. This whole process we're going through is about rediscovering the point and making sure that the point is meaningful. And so on that basis, the Jupiter-Uranus stuff that's happening this very day right now while we're talking is part of, come on, do what really feels right and stop being so caught up in what you thought ought to be right, because if you haven't seen already enough evidence that things that people think ought to be right are really very dubious, it's time to recognise as much.
I think you've cracked it there, Jonathan. You've hit the nail on the head with the hammer, with the astrological hammer. Brilliant.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say so. Well, I'm sure any sceptical listener would be raising an eyebrow going, he just waffled, didn't he?
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll stay away. All right. Well, look, thank you so much for that.
That's a pleasure.